Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and today I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day. So far, a crazy long day of matches today in the Call of Duty League with huge storylines, but also massive implications to what is going to happen here at Major 3 based on the winners bracket situation that is now unfolding before our eyes. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. So going into the day, ideally for OpTic, they needed Vegas to win their series. That would have been the ideal world. That would have guaranteed OpTic winners bracket progression. As it turned out though, with the events we shall see transpire here in a second, Los Angeles Guerrillas took that series and therefore leaving OpTic in a position where they had to do some work themselves. The first series though, Minnesota Rokkr versus LA Thieves. We've talked about this Rokkr team the last couple of days, how bad they've been, and you know, this was another example of exactly that. Thieves we know are pretty good, but online, I mean, they're never like that good online. They're definitely gettable at online. I mean, Vegas beat Los Angeles Thieves online earlier this stint, but I mean, Rokkr never even got close. Game 1 was close for a while, but then was comfortable for Thieves, I thought. Same story in the Search and Destroy. They're now on a 10-loss streak in Search and Destroy. The record must be, you know, they can't be too far off the record of losing S&Ds in a row. Okay, we know that Surge went 0-12 to start out the season online, but they actually won a couple on LAN between that. And I imagine the record goes back a couple of years, but still, that's not particularly good. I know that Thieves probably knew that going after this round that they'd probably won it. Envoy had the series of his, well, not the series of his life, but he had a great series here as well. And we know that the SMGs are usually where the series is won and lost, and again, Bance had a tough time, but still, the ARs, the impact wasn't really there. Interesting series, Rokkr tried, and look, I don't understand how Thieves even won this round, to be honest. It was outrageous that Kenny got this kill and was able to hold on to this defense. Thieves won what looked like an impossible round. They win the control as well, a hot 3-0 in their favor, and the numbers, okay, Afro had a good series, Cammy has been alright, but yeah, Attach and Bance had a rough one, and it was Envoy especially, I thought, the series that was dominant, but another 3-0. Rokkr's map count this stage was just absolutely horrific. They're the first team this season to go 0-5 in a stretch of qualifiers, which, yeah, not a good look for them at all, and honestly, I think they're going to have to blow it up after the major. I can't see another outcome here unless they make some sort of miracle losers bracket run, but Thieves, they go in comfortably as one of the top seeds. No real surprises there. This, though, was the series that arguably I was most looking forward to of the day. Vegas versus Los Angeles Guerrillas. I thought this probably had a game 5 on it. It didn't in the end, we'll see in a second, but yeah, wow, incredible series for Vegas, right? Because they, after Florida lost yesterday, they found themselves in a tough spot where they really had to beat LAG to secure winners bracket progression. Now, as things transpired during the day, it wasn't, you know, Vegas still had some hope left after this series, but they effectively had to win this series. They won game 1, they were looking good, but game 2, there were a few rounds they threw away, but the key storyline from this series was this drama of one of the maddest couple of minute periods that I honestly remember in CDL history. Even in just competitive Call of Duty, this was absolutely insane what happened here. So, you know, Vegas were down 1-4 here. They'd thrown away a couple of rounds. And 2ReaL comes outside of the site, thinks, you know what, let me try a couple of wallbang spots. So he goes for this wallbang in the corner, gets the first kill, and then is like, all right, now it's you know, we've got one man advantage. Why don't I go for another one? And he goes for this lineup here on Exceed, gets that kill as well. So insane, right? Okay, look, I don't think 2ReaL's actually hacking or anything, right? I don't think he's actually got the wall hacks. But, you know, to see one wallbang like this is pretty rare. To see 2 in a row back-to-back in the same rounds with both spots working to perfection is actually pretty insane. And at 2ReaL gets both kills, runs in, gets the bomb down, like unbelievable stuff. Now, just a few seconds after this happens, the absolutely incredible thing happened. The timing on this is unbelievable what the COD gods were thinking here. So 2ReaL goes in, and then the very next rounds, he gets kicked from the game. Like, he leaves the game, and you can see on his setup, he's gone, and, you know, he's on his phone, and people, like, have no idea what's going on. It was such a crazy period of time, and, you know, he got up from his station, they put these cameras on, he was on his phone, and maybe texting his team to say what was happening, because I guess he got disconnected from something or other. He went to put his hoodie on, but he put it on, like, backwards, and then he just walked off the camera. Like, it was absolutely insane, this period of time. Like, there was some trick shot they tried to do before, then he goes through the walls for 2 kills, leave the setup, puts the hoodie on backwards. It was absolute comedy to watch, honestly, for those few minutes, and, of course, the implication being there, right, given the fact that 2ReaL gets one of the most suspect 2-pieces, it's not really suspect, right, but you know what I mean, in Call of Duty history, and then the very next round is the man that coincidentally gets, you know, lags out of the lobby, right? They, of course, everyone was saying, oh, he got kicked for cheating, right? You know, he got accused, and then obviously they realized he was cheating and kicked him for the game. I don't believe that's what happened, of course, and, you know, I imagine it was just very coincidental timing on this that he happened to lag out at that specific moment, but still hilarious, right? That he gets that 2-piece, and then the next round he gets kicked from the game. Eventually, they bring it back in. They lose the game anyway. Los Angeles Guerrillas win it. And then again, the control. JoeDeceives even said had to get him PC checked, but that's what people were saying, that, okay, they've got to get the PC check in just to make sure after those wallbangs. We will be continuing shortly, says JoeDeceives. But then the control, honestly, like, Guerrillas kind of took over here. But again, both game 3 and game 4, even game 2, were winnable for Vegas, right? This is where Vegas were on the verge of getting into the winners bracket. Winning this series would have guaranteed it, and they had so many good chances to win, but they squandered them. And Guerrillas, a team that hasn't been good at all, in my opinion. The coaches earlier today said they're the worst team in the game, but, they have made things close. They are a team that can take advantage of other teams' mistakes. They did that in this series, and again, game 4, aBeZy. We saw this happen to Vegas yesterday against Minnesota. They were down 2-1 going into game 4. They won the game 4, won the game 5. I feel like they would have done the same thing here had that transpired, but it didn't. They were up about 80 actually at the start of this aBeZy hardpoint. They squandered it. Guerrillas win the series, and Clay understandably heartbroken because they were so close, and even as he says, just tossing situations, put ourselves in advantageous scenarios, can't take advantage. Those 2 maps hurt, and obviously Clay's looking back at them and trying to make a run at the major, but even at this point, their hope was not all lost based on, okay, they lost that series, that put them in a tough spot, but there's still a chance that one of the teams above them would squander their advantages, as we'll see in a second. Arcitys, Assault both turned up, had a good series here, and again, TJ with a 0.8. You've got to give credit to 2ReaL, right? Had a great series here, very impactful again, and Clayster, most damage on his team, as you tend to see with Clay at this point. So I think individually, 2ReaL's done a pretty good job, but if 2ReaL and Clay are your, best players, that's not particularly a good sign. You're going to need other slaying power on the team. TJ just isn't it in respawn, to be honest. As unfortunate as it is to say, he's been bad at respawn, I think, all year compared to the average in the league. And Timp, honestly, despite being the carry man, the hard carry for Paris Legion for years, has honestly kind of not really been anywhere this season and needs to improve, I think, on an individual level. So big loss for Vegas Legion to take in this one. That left the team standings looking like this. So Mutineers out of it, Ravens 1-3 with their map mechanism particularly good, Rokkr 0-5, so they were chalked, and it looked like, given the fact the Ravens were going to play Ultra, that this was going to be a set-in-stone thing where Vegas would, tie with Guerrillas 2-3, but would eventually lose the tiebreaker. And what it also meant was, with that series result as it went down, that OpTic needed to win 3 maps out of their next 2 series to qualify for winners, to ensure they had a better map count than some of the other 2 and 3 teams that could find themselves in a similar position, we shall see. Before that, though, we got this crazy series, Ultra versus London, and Ultra with Hicksy, of course, I believe they were undefeated so far with Hicksy in the roster. The series early on, 1-1, was tied up in the search and destroy. Ultra won a pretty impressive control, though, I thought, and I was like, okay, 2-1, it's going to be 3-1, GG, go next, because Ultra are good online, and London have been, they've been taking series the distance, but they've never had, the ability to close out, really, apart from what they did against Los Angeles Guerrillas earlier on. But honestly, Game 5, London came to play. They won the Game 4 impressively, and Game 5, these role changes, Nasty on the Scar now, it seems to be working very well indeed. And Nasty's been playing great, and, that Scraps has been, I think, holding his own. Asim had an all-star level series. Paul didn't really do too much, but he didn't have to because his team was playing very well. So it's great to see that London, they stuck it out, and they're actually making it work, because many teams that struggle, when people say, oh, sticking it out, it's probably not going to work, in large part that's true, and they're still going to be in the losers bracket, but still, they're making some improvements. It's good to see they stuck with their team and decide to make the chemistry, work itself out, and it actually worked out for them here. They won this game 5-6-2. Difficult for Ultra, right? Because Ultra losing this series means it's Hicksy's first loss, but Hicksy on an individual level has basically dropped like a 0.8 every single series he's played in the CDL so far, which isn't bad if you're winning, and obviously I do believe that he has enabled CleanX to be a better version of himself than he has been previously, but still, right, if Hicksy's got a 0.8, yes, inside of the bad series, but Hicksy always has a 0.8 to a 0.9, he's never going to be the Slayer, and if CleanX isn't slaying hard, then you find yourself in a bit of a predicament, right, if you're Ultra, because the slaying power of the SMGs isn't really there like it was for Asim, on the other side of the story on this occasion. So just an interesting note for Ultra, especially given how good we say they are online. Losing this series is big, and maybe that honeymoon period with Hicksy is now over, and they're going to go back to reality when they get to LAN at Major 3. And speaking then of potential teams collapsing after giving themselves a great chance of making winners, here we go with the situations for seeding going into Major 3 before that final series of the day. OpTic found themselves in a spot where they had the chance to finish themselves basically any position in the entire situation situation they could have even finished first had they won both of their series. Fourth was an option, but also starting in losers was an option, and now that is all the more likely based on their result up against the New York Subliners. This was a series that OpTic will certainly want to forget. Multiple moments in this where things could have gone differently. Game 1, Subliners had an early advantage. Then there was this specific moment that I'm sure many will remember here, where, well, Hydra basically turned on Shotzzy. Now, I don't really think this is, okay, obviously this is Shotzzy's fault, but I don't think it was like, you know, Hydra didn't just absolutely body him. Like, Shotzzy just stopped shooting. Right, you guys can see actually towards the end here that Shotzzy thinks he's got the kill, I think, at this point in turn. Maybe to be fair, maybe he just get absolutely destroyed, I don't know. But I think the key kill was not necessarily even just this one on Shotzzy, but it was on the next kill. Hydra gets this one, runs around the corner, still weak obviously, and guns Huke into brute oblivion. And okay, in fairness, already at this point Subliners are on the verge of winning, but still, those two kills solidified the game in their favor. And you know, Hydra brought the baguette out. I don't exactly know why or what was happening here. I thought maybe they were preparing this just in case someone got one kill in the search and destroy or something, but I thought that was entertaining, and Hydra was the key man making the plays this map. But then the search and destroy, Dashy shot some bodies early on, and then Kismet got an ace and then did the same thing back his way. And this was, like, honestly man, OpTic, I thought that maybe these new changes they were going to make some difference to what they, like, how they play their search and destroys, but or just how they play any situation in general. But it doesn't seem to matter for them. Like, just regardless, they will keep doing the same stuff. They have 4v2s, throwing away man advantages. Like, just some of the plays you see them make are so frustrating to watch when they've got the ability. But, you know, I don't know if it's about Shotzzy doing the movement all the time, but, you know, you can understand why people say that, because they get into good positions and then they just go rogue and do something crazy that they really shouldn't do and throw away advantages. Subliners took advantage, goes at round 11 this map. Dashy made a nice little 1v1 to get them to that point, and this probably was the only highlight that OpTic actually tweeted out on their socials, because it wasn't a particularly good series for them. Did clutch this 1v1, lost the round 11 though, and okay, Kismet had a streak anyway, but again, OpTic were trying their best, but they just died without any trades. Right, Huke went down, and then it was just, you know, death after death. The thing is, like, you can ego chow if there's a trade, right? Like, Shotzzy flies out there, but there's no trade, and Dashy really doesn't have a chance to trade, and then Ghosty's in a 1v4, and he's obviously going to go down. So, like, you can get away with chowing hard and ego chowing a bit if your team is there to back you up, but some of the solo chows that OpTic do are just a recipe for disaster. And I'll just take you guys through the screenshot here of the faces of the OpTic players after this map too. So, like, Ghosty wasn't particularly happy, Shotzzy was not looking particularly happy either, and Dashy, I mean, like, I don't know what Dashy's face was here, but it certainly wasn't the face of a player that was going to go on to win the series. Huke was also not looking so happy as well. So yeah, that was just a quick snapshot there of what was going on with OpTic. And the final map, of course, was a traditionally painful 5 defense wins on Fortress Control, but honestly, OpTic had a great chance in their final offense to get some ticks on the board. They somehow didn't cap A, given all the chances in the world. Had they have achieved that, they'd have been in a good position to actually secure themselves defense round 5. They squandered it despite Shotzzy going rogue in the spawn, and well, they had defense, or they had offense round 5, and at that point it was chalked. 4 dead immediately on OpTic side, and you knew at that point the series was over. The 3-0, not just important for OpTic's momentum going into the major with this roster, but also very important with regard to their seeding, because as we saw, they needed to win 3 maps from their following 2 series in order to secure their winners bracket spot. They have won 0 maps from this particular series, which means they have to beat FaZe tomorrow. To my understanding, I believe this is true. They must beat FaZe in any fashion, 3-1, 3-2, 3-0, doesn't matter, but they've got to beat FaZe if they want to qualify in the winners bracket of their own major. That is a remarkable thing to say going into the final day of the qualifiers, going into their own major, but still, that is the reality. Here are the final numbers for the series. A close series, don't get me wrong, in the slaying and in the results, but you know, still, a 3-0 is devastating for OpTic given the situation they find themselves in. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below, and I'm sure there will be many. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.